single life before you married and had a family.
Yeah. Well, what do I tell my kids about?
Do you take them to a prostitute for their first experience? No, you don't do that.
He's got class. What's the matter, Robin? You're
pointing him in the right direction.
Robin, you've been with Howard far too long.
You got to go.
I think we need a break.
Governor, let me tell you something. She's been taking a lot of enemas and colonics. Are you against enemas and colonics? I am. That's more boarding your ass.
I've never thought about it.
You would never put a tube in your ass and put water up there, would you?
I don't think so.
That's what I told Robin.
Call yourself a seal.
It's never really. This is the first time it's entered the conversation.
Governor, so the last time you were here, you told a story about when you were a wrestler.
Yeah.
And you decided that you wanted to unionize the wrestlers, and Hulk Hogan didn't go along with it.
Yeah, he ratted me.
Right. So Hulk was here.
Yeah.
And I brought it up to him.
Yeah.
And oh boy. And here's the weird thing. I know Hulk. He seems like an honest guy to me. Like he's telling the truth. And you seem like a super honest guy to me. You're saying no, he's not an honest guy. You want to hear his response to when I brought it up?
Probably not.
You don't want to hear it.
But let me just say this to you, Howard.
He even said he would call in when you were here, but I didn't, I wasn't going to do that.
First of all, this is a guy who went on Arsenio Hall and said he never took a steroid. Now, is that believable?
See, he was claiming...
Is that believable?
He doesn't... He says you took them. He says that you're lying. He says that any sexual accusations...
No. I took them, yes. No. I admitted taking them back in 1988.
Right.
I did a poster that went to all the high schools saying, I've tried steroids. Stay away from them. They're dangerous.
Right.
And... Hogan, if you wanted steroids, who do you think you bought them from?
Really? And he said it was all bullshit about the union thing. He did claim also. What else did he claim?
He claimed...
he claimed the governor was... You were at Plato's Retreat.
I did go there.
Right. So you never...
But that was my gimmick. Right. I went there to get the dangling T-shirt so I could offend people in the ring that said Plato's Retreat on it. Yeah, I went there.
Right.
You didn't take your wife and go wife swapping?
No.
Yeah, and he was claiming that.
He said you were always on. He said you were on Quaaludes a lot.
He said you took a lot of Quaaludes.
Smoked pot with him in a hotel.
I said I've had the governor.
Oh, I've smoked pot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big deal. Pot should be legal.
You're absolutely right.
You know what?
I've smoked pot and I don't even like it.
Franklin Roosevelt, I think, said at the end of prohibition of alcohol, he made a quote that will apply today. He said, "We cannot afford to prohibit alcohol any longer." Right. I say that should be applied today. We cannot afford to prohibit marijuana any longer.
I completely agree with you. Yeah. Well, anyway, I got upset because when you guys were going back and forth at it, and I said, gee, how do you know who to believe with this whole union thing and all this? And
you want to hear a good story on him?
Yeah.
All right.
I do.
He got charged with a sexual assault in Minnesota.
When?
This was back right about before I became governor. It was in the 90s, I think.
Right.
That he was there for something or other, and a girl charged him officially with a sexual assault. And it was interesting because I knew she was telling the truth. You know why?
Why?
Well, as wrestlers, you're all, gang showers and all that. She said, here was this guy with this huge, massive body, but he had a tiny penis.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Well, you don't know how to fuck a guy in a story.
And that's Hogan.
I know. Full description of Hogan.
Absolutely.
But does that mean he sexually assaulted her, or just he had sex with her?
Well, I don't know, but it means that she saw him nude one way or the other.
So in other words,
I believed it.
Why I like your honesty. I always ask football players. I say to them, when you're in the shower, do you ever compare size and this and that? They go, oh, no, we never look.
I don't look.
Of course you look. You got to look and see. So you're saying you would look at Hogan and you see like a baby penis.
Yeah.
No,
whoa.
My God.
Oh, hey.
Well, a little more than that.
You are very well hung, right, Governor? I mean, you have nothing to be ashamed of. Is that correct?
Because now Hogan will come back and he'll tell us what you look like.
That's right.
Let him.
Someone's getting tortured.
Who had the biggest one? Sheik? Iron Sheik?
I'm no faggot.
I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't even remember.
People fail to realize I've been gone from wrestling for 19 years.
Right. No, I
left in 1990, and I haven't been involved in it other than being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2004, I think it was.
Right.
I haven't had no involvement with wrestling.
You can't remember crazy details like the size of Iron Sheik's penis.
I have a feeling about you. I feel you're going to run for president.
No.
I think you're going to.
There was a time I would have entertained it, but I don't think so because I think that Obama will get, unless things go really terrible, he'll get reelected.
Do you like him?
Yeah.
You agree with what he's doing?
Well, no, I don't know. I think the bailout, no one knows. How do you handle it? I don't know how to handle this thing. I'd have to go to some people, and I mean, he went to summers at Harvard and all that when I taught there, and he's a bright guy. So,
right.
And Obama's a graduate of Harvard.
Uh-huh.
At least now we have a president who can read a teleprompter.
He can read a teleprompter. He can speak.
For 8 years, we had someone that couldn't do that.
I agree.
By the way, I did a lot of reading on George Bush.
Uh-huh.
Do you know who he is? Blutarsky. You remember from Animal House?
Yeah.
The Belushi character. And right at the end, it said Senator and Mrs. Blutarsky. Remember in the credits?
That's right.
Well, George Bush, I read 4 different interviews from his classmates.
That's right.
And every one of them, different interviews, and they all said if you would have taken a poll at Yale and said who was the least likely guy who would be the president, George Bush would have won hands down. He never read a book. He never studied there. He got C's, which if you get accepted in Harvard or Yale, a C is like failing.
So how did this guy become governor of Texas?
His dad.
I know, but I mean, people do eventually have to pull the lever for the guy. I mean, and I know there was money behind
job.
A snow job.
Yeah, they convinced us this was a bright man.
Well, we don't get to see him and talk to him.
My feeling is he never was fully in control of the White House. That there were other people running the show.
Dick Cheney.
And some other guys, all from the first President Bush's administration. They put them all in there.
He's a figurehead. He was a guy they found that would do what they wanted to have done.
It was like a bunch of gangsters.
But do you think, I mean, because there's that one scene in W, the Oliver Stone movie, where Dick Cheney gets a little bit too vocal in a meeting, and George says, now, Dick, I'm the president. It's almost like two kids fighting. I'm the one who's getting to say cut, like a director.
Well, Jesse's making me think of a scene in Animal House where Blutarsky gets up and says, "Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?"
Yeah, one of those kind of guys.
And again, to me, George Bush was Blutarsky.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. And yet, 2 terms, and now I think the state of the world is so far gone. I mean, the economy here in the United States and the people
all over the world, because our economy runs the world.
I'll tell you what's sad. When our economy goes bad, you know who gets hit worse than we do? The poor Mexicans.
Yeah. Huh?
Do you know, a year ago, the exchange rate, I'm making money hand over fist now just playing the exchange rate.
What do you mean?
A year ago, it was 10 pesos to the dollar.
Right.
So I took a bunch of money and bought pesos. Well, now it's 15 pesos to the dollar if you buy it now. So the point is, eventually it'll go back to 10. So then you take all your money then and buy back in the U.S.
You don't miss living in the U.S., huh?
No.
You love Mexico.
Yeah. I love Mexico because of the freedom I'm afforded down there. Down there, I'm just a big gringo. They don't know who I am. None of the fame comes with you. I'm into surfing now.
But Mexico's very corrupt, right? I mean, you got to
but you know that. You know it.
You know what you're dealing with.
See, what we
ain't no one kidnapping him.
We've got blinders on. We think our government's honest.
Right.
We're full of shit.
Yeah.
Right.
At least Mexico, you accept that the government's corrupt, and you go in with that knowledge and acceptance. I've beaten the federales twice. I got to get out of jail free card. No, the federales, they pull you over and they try to heist money from you.
Right.
They've tried that. That's the federal police.
I know.
So what do you do?
Word.
Well, I pull out my governor's ID and they back off and let me go.
Nice.
So, yeah. The last time he was going to write me up, it was going to cost me 500 pesos, and he said I couldn't have my license back, but we could settle it here.
Right.
I pulled out my governor's ID and said, I know Presidente Fox and President Calderon. Are you sure you want to do this? He looked at the ID, looked at the other federale, and then explained to me, you're just going to get a warning.
Yeah.
But just,
so in other words,
I call it the get out of jail free card.
So being in the government is better than being in any mafia or anything like that.
In Mexico.
Yeah. Huh?
In Mexico.
Yeah,
they have...
Are you friendly with your neighbors? Oh, you don't even see neighbors?
Well, I have neighbors down there could be a mile away. Like my main neighbor is a rancho gentleman named Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And they're very family oriented down there. And to show you what type of man he is, he has horses, and my wife loves to ride.
Right.
So she approached Mr. Gonzalez and asked if she could rent or lease a horse from him.
Right.
He looked